Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and welcome to another Lorcana Wednesday. I hope you're enjoying the Azurite Sea. If you haven't already, feel free to give a little like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and hey, it doesn't cost you anything either. So today, I wanted to talk about this Hades Strong Arm. Kind of a weird subtitle name, isn't it? So I think when everyone saw this legend, we all recognized immediately just pretty how bad it is. It's a 5-cost uninkable, and it's a 4/3 stat line, not great for a 5 cost. Only quest for 1, so at some point lore pressure. So what is it doing? Well, he asked that too. What are you going to do? Exert him, pay 3 ink, banish one of your characters to banish any chosen character. Now, if you take away everything before this hyphen, this is a good effect. Banish chosen character, right? However, exerting and 3 ink, and you have to sacrifice something like, it's insane. It's an insanely bad card, and there's a reason you haven't shown up anywhere. But I wanted to try to make a deck tech at least involving a lot of the legends, and I just thought there's got to be some way to make this card work, right? It has to be something we can do with it. I'm not saying it'll be competitive, but at least there's a way to make it usable, enjoyable. Like, I mean, the cost, okay, well, you could ramp, get a bunch of ink, then you can pay the ink cost, but you have to have a character to sacrifice over and over again. Well, you could sacrifice something like Merlin Rabbit, right? And then that way you're getting some benefit off of it. But actually, there's one card that came out this set that works perfectly with Hades. And that is, Lilo, the Escape Artist. So Lilo says, at the start of your turn, if this card is in your discard, you may play her, and she enters play exerted. And I got to thinking, okay, so you have to pay 2 for that, right? Well, and Hades is 3, and let's say you put Hades out on turn 5, you wait a turn, let's say he survives. Wait a minute. You can spend this 3 plus the 2 from the Lilo, and you actually have an infinite banish loop here. So at the start of your turn, you revive the Lilo for 2, then you can immediately exert the Hades, pay 3, and just get rid of anything on your opponent's board. And every turn, as long as your Hades survives, you can repeat this over and over and over again. There is no limit to how many times the Lilo can come in at the start of every turn. So it's essentially just an infinite loop. So here is the deck I have constructed around it. And the deck list will be in the description below. So the big key cards, of course, are Lilo and Hades. That once you get to 5 ink, you can just chuck Lilo at your opponent every single turn as much as you want to. And I found out a key card that I might actually upgrade to more. Like if you were seriously trying to make this deck work, you might want to put in more lanterns, because with the lantern, what you could do is you can get the Hades out on turn 4, which means on turn 5, you're already ready to start banishing cards. So I might up the lantern if I were to do it. So let me talk about some of the other cards. This is really the combo all on its own. Everything else is just support cards to make sure you don't die before then. Gothel Rapunzel, it's just typical card draw. Queen Shift Package is very nice, just as early aggression. Fix It Felix Jr., we have quite a few locations. The idea being that, well, wait a minute, if you're spending all this ink, 5 every turn, how do you win the game, right? Because you're not questing with either of these characters, and you're spending most of your ink essentially casting a Dragonfire over and over and over again. So the idea was like, well, what if you just jammed out some locations and you kind of sat on those and Hades just protected you over and over again while you were doing that. So that's why the Fix It Felix is in there, since he has some locations he can go off of. RLS Legacy is good when it goes off. There's sometimes it really sucks being uninkable and being a 4-cost. There are sometimes you are spending so much ink in the Hades Lilo combo, you just can't afford to jam something like this out. Nonetheless, it's there. Agrabah is just a cheap way to get lore on a location. The one form of protection we have is we have no way to give this card ward, at least in these colors. I think the only way is like green, and maybe there's like a blue card that doesn't. But Rapunzel's Tower, yes, it doesn't get us any lore, but if we can move our Hades here, so let's say turn 5, you have your Hades, turn 6, you can ink 1 card, you can move him to the tower, he at least will get 3 willpower this way. Being 4 strength, it also means he shouldn't die to anything like a Medusa or a Brawl or a Sisu. And then if he's a 4/6, he's a lot harder to deal with. So that's why the Rapunzel's Tower is in there. Vitalisphere, the idea was to combine that with Maui Shark, but in reality, it just doesn't really come up. Like, on occasion, it's okay to have Rush. And here's the thing, I kind of got confused in my Final Fantasy days. Giving a character Rush, or what they would call Haste, means you can actually use their ability right away. So it's like, oh, it'll be great. You can play the Hades, give him Rush, and then you can immediately use this effect. No, it doesn't work that way. It just means you can challenge that turn. So you could easily cut the Vitalisphere if you want. Be prepared just when things are going very south. Brawl, pretty much a staple in Ruby decks right now. Maui Shark, I don't think I've ever cast once in all the games I've played of this. Again, when you're locking up all this ink in the Hades, you just don't have the ink for it, so you could cut this for something else. This Maui is nice, though. Sometimes when it's turn 5, you can't wait for this Hades to dry. You just have to have Maui take something out. He's there. CC is just a generically good card that quests for a lot, good body. And then, of course, Julieta is just another way to heal, not only Gothel, but anything else for more card draw. So it's a very simple deck. It's very straightforward. It's very much for fun, not meant to be super serious competitive, but it is fun. Let me show you some matches on how this combo works. All right, match 1, and hey, wouldn't you know it, we have quite the nice starting hand. The game really wants to make sure we get that Lilo combo, so we have 3 Lilos, Hades, and the Lantern. This is actually after I mulligan, so I'm not sure what my pre-mulligan was, but I didn't have the footage for that. Our opponent going on a Pluto package, so we didn't have a 1-drop, but that's okay. We put out the Lilo. I don't think there's actually even a ton of 1-drops in this deck, which is something you could adjust if you really wanted more of them. But so we get the Lantern out. Now that means we can get a second Lilo out, which means even if our opponent gets rid of these cards, they're just ready to be revived, and we can go in on a Hades next turn. We do shift the Pluto, which is quite the big card. But that's okay, because, hey, he's got 8 willpower. That doesn't matter when I've got Hades. So the Lilos are putting on our questioning pressure. Lilo is just such a good card. It's really crazy to me this card has no limit. I know the downside is essentially you're investing your ink and you have to invest it before you see what card you draw for turn. That is a reminder for anyone who's not familiar with Lilo. You do have to do that during the set phase, so you ready your ink and all your characters, and before you draw your card, you have to decide if you want to revive Lilo. So opponent takes them both out, and you race the combo. So before I draw, I do it. I nearly brick by drawing into another uninkable, but I have Hades throw Lilo at the Pluto, and Pluto's gone. So now every turn, I can repeat this. Now, is this risky? Yes, because again, how am I getting lore if I'm doing that? Well, not at all when my opponent casts Let It Go on Hades. But because of the Lantern, this is why I actually think you might want to upgrade to 4 Lantern in this deck. I can still bring out the Hades this turn with the Lilo. Unfortunately, you can't use the Lantern with the Lilo. That would be really nice if you could, like, okay, before the Lilo revives, Lantern, now it only costs 1 to bring back in. Sadly, it does not work that way. But so our opponent gets out an Alice. Alice is actually a very annoying card for this deck since I need to target cards to banish, and they're just not there. So I go ahead and put out Agrabah, hoping to get some extra lore this way. I quest with the Lilo first, then throw her. I can hit either the Flaversham or the Pluto. I decided to get rid of the Pluto. I just don't want the big Pluto to shift in because then he could take out the Hades. I go ahead and just move Hades to Agrabah. I'm really just inking cards. Now with 7 ink, it's a lot more feasible on 7 ink than 5 ink because with 5 ink, you have to use all your ink to do the Hades-Lilo combo. Now, I can revive the Lilo, still throw out the Hades, still have 2 ink left over. So, and with a Lantern, if it's a character, that's going to help me cast it a lot. Our opponent puts out the Rapunzel's Tower. Another Alice, probably wards the Alice. Oh, actually, they challenge. Never mind. So the only thing I can hit right now is the Flaversham. We go ahead and revive the Lilo. And you can see just combo. Now, I do have the Rapunzel's Tower. Yeah, I'll probably go around and say, all right, well, fine. You want to do the Rapunzel's Tower? I'll do the Rapunzel's Tower. So Hades cannot banish any of these cards by using his effect, but he can, of course, just challenge into them. And again, with Rapunzel's Tower now, he has an extra 3 health. So he's a 4/6. So neither of these characters on the board can challenge into him and defeat him. Now the Agrabah and the Lilo. Here comes Grand Pabby. Looks like they've got some healing shenanigans. I think we saw an Amber Chromicon earlier, so that makes a lot of sense. And looks like they put 1 on Agrabah. I think they quested 2 to give the Flaversham ward, but look, we bring back another Lilo. Now we're starting to get into a point where we have excess ink and we can just start doing stuff. So this Pabby's a cool little card. Well, not if he's not around. So I can have Hades chuck something at him. I'm probably going to move, yeah, Felix into the tower. I think I have everyone at the tower except for the Lilo I just revived, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm making sure, yep, 3 Hades, boom. Or no, the Pabby was warded. Yeah, that's why I was like, is the Pabby warded or the Flaversham's warded? So they can keep the Pabby warded, but in the meantime, I'm just getting a ton of lore. So you can see, you can actually put on quite a bit of pressure with this. If you can keep that Hades alive and just keep it going, then Chippendale, really fun card, except even if it survives this turn, I can just blast it. Pabby takes out. Something got warded by the Alice. We just recur the Lilo again. And we just go ahead and throw out probably the Lilo. Yeah, we go ahead and get rid of the Chippendale. And as you can see, even I don't have the ink to cast the Legacy there. It just takes a lot of ink to do this combo over and over and over again. And it's a fun combo, but yeah, so maybe it's better to cut something like a Legacy for a cheaper card, but at this point it doesn't matter. I can just revive the Lilo and quest for game. All right, this time you'll get to see the mulligan. We have the tower, we have the lantern, we have the Lilo. We do not have the Hades, could potentially draw into it. I don't hate that I have the Felix either, because potentially what I could do is I put the lantern out on turn 2, then turn 3 I go tower into the Felix if I wanted to. And then I would get the card draw. I was very impressed with Lantern. Our opponent wants to scout our hand. And we actually draw into the Shift Queen. So they didn't see the Shift Queen with the Diablo there. So we could potentially surprise them if we want to. I can put out the Lantern, and I'm still going. I quest there because even if they shift Diablo, if they run it into the Queen, then they just trade, and I'm absolutely okay with that, unless they specifically have the Cove. So they put out their own Jim Hawkins. Yep, here's the play we're going to go for. Lantern, Felix is one cheaper, and we get to draw off of it. Fun little combo. Not incredible, but fun. And I've got the Shift Queen online, potentially, if I need to use it. Our opponent shifts into Jim Hawkins, however, and actually, because he inked from the Inkwell, he gets the plus Challenger from the lower gym, so he takes out the location in one final shot. Luckily, with the power of the Shift Queen, I steal from Jim Hawkins, power up Felix, and now little old Fix-It Felix just took out a big old gym. No Hades combo in sight, but hey, we're going to ride the power of this Queen as far as we can. Nothing to challenge to heal off the Rapunzel, so we could just put out the Sisu, which is a lot better when it's 2. And again, Lilo is, man, just what a card that you feel pretty safe to quest with this, right? Yeah, the Calhoun can kind of punish it. Our opponent actually shifts into a John Silver, a card I've also wanted to do a deck on, but I was just struggling to find an answer for it. They have a pretty cool Treasure Planet theme going on. So at the start of my opponent's turn, that John Silver is going to deal 1 damage to any character that is readied. So yeah, I'm just sitting there like, well, this is different. However, there is a combo here that I have online. Because of the way the Queen works, you can drain attack power or strength from a target, right? So what you can actually do here is drain strength from the, what's it called, the John Silver. So it drains 4 strength, it puts him to a 2/6. Well, once he's a 2/6, guess what that means he's in favor of? I could have also drained the Calhoun, so that way it wouldn't die with the trade, but by draining the John Silver, now he's available for a brawl, and I can brawl this 8-cost card, which is just insane. That's insane that you have the ability to do that. There's a big old bad Diablo. Only way I can really deal with this is Hades. Unfortunately, the opponent is going to start drawing some cards, but that's okay. Lantern, I get Hades online, which means next turn, I can now start the Lilo Hades combo and say, all right, you can have your Diablo, but I'm going to just start throwing fireballs at it. Bring back Lilo. And we know we can ink for turn 2 because we have the Rapunzel almost brick by getting the Lantern. We ink, opponent had a technical issue with tabletop. Throw the Lilo, goodbye Calhoun. CC runs into that, and the Diablo, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, you can draw cards. I mean, I'm going to quest to lethal next turn. What are you going to do about it? Opponent actually uses a Bruno. We mix up. They randomly decide. They hit the Hades because they always do. Somehow Bruno always hits the card that puts back, but that's okay. Now I can just keep putting the Lilo on the board. Again, get the half shark. Just too late, but it doesn't matter. Our opponent can't answer this entire board at this point. So that's going to be another GG from Mr. Hades and Little Lilo. All right, now we are looking. We're going to go ahead and put the half shark back. We do have the combo again. We've got Hades, Lilo, and Lantern. Man, I wish I could draw this consistently on like the decks I play at tournaments. When I'm doing the fun decks, you always seem to get a little more consistent. But opponent does check the hand. Way too soon for a Maui Shark. Could put out the Queen, otherwise just be patient. I like the idea of the Queen just in case they don't have the shift line. Calhoun's quite strong herself, though. Very annoying card. We could have even been patient, put out the Lantern, and then played the Queen for free. But again, I just kind of wanted to threaten the Diablo. Opponent gets the Ursula. Probably have to brawl that. I can't imagine we can leave that. I mean, again, we could take a risk. But man, if that card goes off. So we take out the Diablo. Could do the same Felix line I did last time. No, the Ursula's just too risky. This does open us up for the Calhoun trade, unfortunately, but kind of had to be done. Now, the nice thing is, too, I think what you might see here, so it gives the Calhoun super resist, won't take any damage from the queen, we'll get extra lore, is I can actually put the Hades out on this turn. And the next turn, I can set out the Lilo, and it's essentially the same thing. She's just coming from my hand instead of the discard pile. And I can get rid of this Calhoun, or I could get rid of the Morph, potentially, if I'm scared of what he's doing. Oh no, but they do Strength of a Raging Fire. It's not enough, though. Actually, yeah, an opponent realized, I think I let him take it back is what happened. He was like, wait a minute, this isn't going to kill. I was like, yeah, you can take it back. It's fine. So we do the Hades combo. Lilo's set up, ready to be used. And actually, it costs one less because I get to bring Lilo in off the Lantern. Morph's a little scary depending on what they shift into. All right, so opponent brings down a big gym. We do have Hades ready to go. So it doesn't matter how strong this guy is. Ooh, unless he can finish this off with more damage. This is where that Rapunzel's tower would be really nice. But we got to use the Lilo. And this is kind of when you get into one of these, like, almost self-locks where, okay, I can keep his character off the board, but... Oh, is he going to hit the Hades again with the Bruno? Oh, my gosh. Every time. Every time. So the Hades is gone. At this point, I say, okay, if I can't use Hades, well, I'll let you deal with a body that recurs over and over and over again. As well as an RLS Legacy that's going to sit here and start getting me lore. Ooh, John Silver. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I'm incentivized to just quest out, right? So we put Rapunzel's tower. I go ahead and put the Lilo at the tower. That's not going to keep it alive from the silver. So actually what I do is I then just move it over to the RLS Legacy. So she's evasive now. Put 6 on the Legacy. And unfortunately, without any like big beaters, this John Silver is just going to go to town on me. So I just flood the board with locations, hoping to slow him down. I move the Lilo off of it, knowing the Legacy is about to disappear anyway. And now we are in trouble. We do not have our Hades to banish. Bring back Lilo. We do have the Gothel Rapunzel combo, so next turn I can at least draw a lot of cards. I move Lilo into Rapunzel's tower. This way at least the Morph and the Diablo can't deal with her easily. There's Tinkerbell. Finishes off that. John's going to pick up the Lilo. At this turn, I decide not to bring her back, knowing I can do Rapunzel Gothel. But this one is starting to snowball away from us. I move the Gothel to the Rapunzel, which actually makes her, what, a 3/7? Not bad. Not bad at all. And I can use the Vitalosphere to give her a rush. I put Mother Gothel and Rapunzel each in their own tower. And I do get 1 damage on it for the John Silver, finally triggering. Opponent plays another John Silver. Holy Treasure Planet, Batman. And I think that makes one of my characters reckless. Presumably, they're going to pick Rapunzel. But they decided to just quest in our face. We can Rapunzel Gothel again if we wish. We have a lot of options here. I can even run the Gothel into someone. So here's what we do. We play this Gothel, have Rapunzel immediately heal it. Then, I think I move it to the tower to give it extra willpower. Vitalosphere also gives it 2 attack, so I think it lets it take out the Tinkerbell. The problem is this John Silver has 2 resist, so everyone's hiding in their towers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if they have any kind of shift for the Morph, we're just going to lose. But we're trying. We're hanging on for dear life. Everyone takes another damage. Anyone who's ready. Sorry, not everyone. It should be everyone. I really don't know why that card costs 8. You have to wait till the start of your turn, and it only damages readied characters. Makes no sense to me. Opponent's going to quest out and just say, okay, I dare you to answer it. Turns out there actually are Be Prepareds in this deck, but you wouldn't know it because I didn't draw in any of these 3 rounds despite all the digging I've done. So was a good effort, but couldn't quite get there on this one. And that's the list. Feel free to give it a little love here on Dreamborn and a like to the video if you enjoyed it. I to be honest, I mean, this is just not a good card. It's just not. But I think currently Lilo is the only thing that makes this viable, because otherwise you have to find a character every single time for the character sacrifice effect. Like, I think you can afford to pay the ink. You can even afford to exert him. It's just having to give up a character every time. I guess the only other thing I could think about is maybe running like a rabbit or a goat, something that gets a benefit when it's banished, but I think you will quickly run out. So if you want to try to make this card work at all, I highly recommend you do something with this Lilo. Let me know if you've got any other tips for the auxiliary slots. It was really mainly for this main combo, and it's a lot of fun. Competitive, probably not, because again, this card's overall pretty bad, but I did enjoy using it, and it's fun when you get to recycle it over and over again. So enjoy. I'll talk to you later, and until next time, take care.